The following audio may contain the personal testimonials of Take Shape for Life health coaches or clients. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified, and your individual path to healthy living and weight loss will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a physician before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the Take Shape for Life team.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Take Shape for Life Habits of Health support call. My name is Craig Blanchette, the lifestyle coach, and it's my pleasure to host this call, this webinar for you this evening. If this is your first time joining the Habits of Health webinar, a special welcome to you. This webinar is for all TSFL clients, coaches, and health professionals, so you may hear questions and comments from all of the above. If you don't fit into one of those categories, but are simply interested in learning more about our program and how to create better health, you are warmly welcome to. You may hear content geared towards those in the weight loss phase of their health journey, those possibly in transition, and of course, those in the optimization phase, moving towards a lifetime of optimal health. Take Shape for Life offers excellent tools and support for weight loss, but we also have a lot more to offer to anyone who is looking to better health in any area of life. If you are in the weight loss phase, perhaps on our 5-in-1 structured fueling plan, be sure to follow the guidelines you have set up for you with you and your coach. And for those of you that are listening to this recording later, we're glad you've taken the time to listen in. We invite you to join us next time to be part of our discussion on the live webinar. These Habits of Health webinars are held every Wednesday evening, 5:30 Pacific and 8:30 Eastern. And this webinar is being recorded and will be available on the Take Shape YouTube channel and podcast within 48 hours. So time to get started. So here we go. The topic tonight is going to be, it's called flexing your brain biceps. And kind of this idea that I had in my mind was our brains are like muscles, and they can actually grow by exercising them, just like our muscles can. And so I have a couple of ideas on how to get our brains to grow. One of you, those of you that may be at this point, I saw this picture and I thought it was such a obvious challenge. Well, we get stuck. I don't know, you guys can't really raise your hands, but just think in your mind, some of you have started off on your health journey, really wanting to make this a lasting change, and you started out with a lot of vigor and you were just getting after it. But what happened along the way, possibly, is you kind of stalled out. That happens a lot of times where we're not quite to our goal, but we're not where we started either, and we're kind of stuck in that middle place. You might be looking at life kind of through a maze where you're not exactly sure how to get to where you want to get, but you're not exactly where you started either. I think that some of us actually potentially even get to our goal weight, and then over time we start to slide back and we're not exactly sure why. For those of you that are familiar with the concept of pain pushes and desire pulls, that's that whole idea that when you get started, you have usually something that motivates you to do something, to act. And usually it's associated with pain. So what you might, as you're beginning that process, if your motivation is connected to pain, as you start making progress and the pain goes away, your motivation is attached to it, so it goes down too. So we're going to be talking about those kinds of things today, because I think that's the people that are doing great. It's those people in that middle zone where I think we all end up slipping into. And so this is a little quote that I love that I found online. By the way, I hope you can hear me well. I turned up my microphone a little bit. So, but this is a quote that I found online. Your brain is like a muscle. It needs exercise. Sharpening the brain doesn't stop when you finish school. It requires lifelong training to stay fit. I don't know if you've thought about that, but a lot of times I heard a couple stats where there's I think it's over 50% of people that never read another book after they graduate high school. It's like, how do you, so yeah, I guess they go from school to the school of hard knocks because we're going to learn one way or the other. So we're going to do something. I want you all to kind of imagine in your mind, we're going to go into the future. Okay. So imagine, you're sitting where you are, and you can possibly even close your eyes and think about sometime in the future. Maybe you've thought about the future being when you're at your healthy weight. Maybe it's a year down the road. Maybe it's a situation where you, I don't know, you have a cruise or a vacation or something that you're really excited about, something that's important to you in the future, right? So we're going to jump in our time machine and we're going to head off to the future. You ready? Here we go. Pretty fun graphics, huh? Hope you're enjoying those. All right. And so when we're in the future, we see different things. We dream about things that we find value in, things that are important to us. So I want you to think about those things in your mind. Imagine if you were to get into a time machine, like the DeLorean there, and you traveled into the future, and there's a you in the future. And so what if you were to observe yourself a year in the future? Think about that. This might be really abstract and weird. And if it is, oh my goodness, you're going to get so much out of this, because that means you haven't done it very much. So we got a lot of room to grow. So the idea is that go into the future and then look around. Think about maybe the things that you might see. What do you see? What kinds of activities do you see the future you doing? Are you more active? What kind of clothes do you wear? What kinds of social things do you do? Maybe how do you wear your hair? There could be a ton of things that you can think about as you explore what that future looks like. Hopefully the future that you see in the future is an improvement over where you are now. So we go into the future, and this is going to take some time and some exercising those brain biceps. And I'll give you some exercises of what you can do at the end of the podcast. But so we're in the future, we're looking around. Think about this. I don't know if those of you that are actually sci-fi fans, but I asked a couple clients, I've been working on this strategy with a few people, and they said, well, it's weird. I don't know what I'm going to see. And I thought about it for a minute. All the sci-fi movies that I've seen, when someone goes into the future, they're not exactly sure what they're going to see either. And so they observe, they look around. So imagine you're observing yourself in the future doing things, and that your life is better. Okay, so now we've got that dream, and you might spend some time there. And then we're going to come back to the now. So we've jumped back in our DeLorean, and we've traveled back in time to the current. And so you have this information, this experience of what happened in the future. And so then what I want you to do is actually share it with the current you. And of course, these are just sort of metaphors, but in your mind, you went to the future. You saw some things that were real in your mind. And now you're going to come back and you're going to talk to your current self about what you saw, what kinds of things that you observed, what kinds of things that you were excited about. And when you tell your current self, when you share this with yourself or potentially with somebody else, talk about it as if it's already happened. So you could say, well, when I went to the future, these are the things that I saw. And you're talking about them in past tense about things that are actually in the future. And oftentimes it works really well when you're traveling in your little time machine to stand up from where you are, walk about 5 or 10 feet away, turn around and look back to where you were sitting. Kind of helps your mind sort of, because this is all abstract kind of thinking. As you look back at where you were standing or sitting, and then speak about the things that you see. And then you get back in your time traveling machine, you walk back to where you were sitting, and then you turn back around, and now you sort of discuss with yourself the things that you saw. So you share. Some people actually use a journal, and the journal is a way of just writing down some notes to yourself. Oftentimes when I say journal, some people will kind of freak out about that because journaling, so I call it the J word. And so anyway, but write down something. I had one of my clients that I'm working with right now. I told she came back after a week of working on this, and she wasn't able to write anything down. It's just because if it just stays in your mind and all you do is just think about the future, but you don't vocalize it, you don't write it down, it doesn't really get traction. And so the idea, what we came up with her, is just to write down one sentence of something that you saw in the future and write it down so you can remind your current self essentially about that. All right. And here's the most important piece. And this is something that I just learned about in the last couple of weeks, is I would go to the future and I would think about what I wanted to happen, the kind of life I wanted to have, the kind of health I wanted to have, those kinds of things. And then, you come back and you talk about it. What do I need to do? Well, if I'm going to be, let's say for just a really simple thing, I'm going to live in Montana, or Florida. I'm going to be living in Florida in a year. And then I come back to today. Well, all of a sudden there's a lot of ideas and decisions that are going to need to happen in order for me to move my residence from Washington State to Florida in 12 months. Right. And so it's almost as if your decisions will begin to be more clear and obvious. And so then this is the most important. So resolving the work essentially means walking through in your mind what is going to be necessary. Think about this. If I was moving to a new state and I didn't resolve the fact that I was going to go to a place where I didn't know very many people from a place that I knew a lot of people, if I didn't resolve that emotional conflict, then I might set myself up for failure. So you need to resolve the work of what you need to do to achieve that healthy weight. I had another client recently, and we were talking about, she was going away for the weekend, and one of her friends, there was 4 girls going away. They rented a house at the beach, and it was one of them's birthday. And so I said, well, do you want to stay on your plan, or do you want to work to get back on your plan after you get home? And she said, no, I want to stay on my plan. I said, okay, great. Oftentimes, I know Lisa Castro said this, it's easier to stay on your plan than it is to get back on your plan. And so we talked through the idea, and we went into the future, and we did this exercise, and then we came back to today and we talked about it. And then we had to resolve the work. So there's going to be evenings when people are going to stay up late, and so she's not going to get a good sleep, so she won't be able to get up in the morning and go for her walk. And so we had to resolve and almost visualize the idea that she was going to go to bed potentially when other people were up having fun. And she had to work through that discomfort. So when she got there, it wouldn't be brand new or take her by surprise. We had the idea where she wanted to go walking in the morning. And so she resolved the work to do that as well, and came up with an idea to invite people the night before Anybody that wants to go on a walk, I'm going to go at 9 in the morning. And that way, she did some of the work to get some people on her team. She also decided she didn't want to drink any alcohol while she was there, because that would take her off her plan. And so we had to resolve the work that was necessary in not being one of the team, one of the gang. Everybody else is drinking and I'm not. So how's that feel? That doesn't feel so good. And so I wanted her to experience the uncomfortableness before it happened. So she's resolving the emotional work, the uncomfortableness that is necessary in order to make those things happen. And so there's many ways to resolve the work, but you have to get in there and get deep into it. And here's what happens. One of the things that will happen in order for your dreams, that future you that you were thinking about in your mind, in order for those dreams to become a reality, you have to resolve the work. And what I find over and over again is when we don't resolve the work, what happens is it slips into fantasy. So it's not, the dream doesn't become a reality. The dream slips into a fantasy, and fantasies aren't real. They never come true. So I don't know, think about that for just a minute. This seems like a lot of work. And I hear people say this statement to me all the time, and they say, well, it's hard. And I saw a post on Facebook that said losing weight is hard. Being overweight is hard. And then it concluded with saying, choose your hard. Both are hard. And so this might be hard if you think about this, the idea of going into the future and spending time doing some really weird kind of awkward thing, right? But if you do it, you'll start to grow those brain biceps, right? You'll start to get strong. You'll become a trafficker of the future. Think about that. You'll become almost like a time travelist. And we need to become well trafficked into the future. We become versed in the future that we want to create. So we go there often and we look around and we take assessments. Maybe after you've started your plan, you assess yourself on a weekly basis. Am I where I need to be this week in order to be where I want to be in a year? Think about that. Little check-ins along the way. Just like my trip to Florida, there's certain things that I wouldn't have to start packing. It's a year down the road, but I would have to start looking for, places that maybe areas that I wanted to live. I don't know, just some of the tertiary or preliminary things that would happen 12 months out. But as I got closer, now I'm starting to look at what route I'm going to drive, the size of U-Haul I'm gonna rent, or the, where my stops are going to be. All those things as I get closer start to be relevant. So you go into the future, you look around, you travel back to where you are today, and you write it down, you journal, you tell yourself about it through writing it to yourself. This is going to be, as I've been working with my clients on this, they oftentimes can sort of take some time in the future, but only one of them that I've been working with this idea has been able to put pen to paper. And so there's something about writing it down where we get, we just get afraid. Oh, it'll never, if I write it down and it doesn't happen, then I'll have disappointment. Okay, so resolve that. Think about, okay, so I might be disappointed. Is that going to kill me or ruin me? Right? Is it going to just destroy my, my heart in the situation? Well, what if you never get to where you want to go because you didn't write it down? How's that going to feel for your heart? Resolve that. maybe you'll decide that, you know what, I'm going to write one sentence a day about how I feel. So here's a little recap on this. The recap is we go into the future. We take our little DeLorean, for those of you that are Back to the Future fans, and we go into the future. So stand up in your chair, walk across the room, turn around, and look back to where you're sitting. So now you're in the future. Look around. Think about the things that are important to you. How you want to show up in the world. I want to show up as a person that is fit, that is vibrant, that has a positive outlook on life, that is loving towards people, that mixes well. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to show up as? And then come back to the now and tell yourself about it. Make sure you write that down, even if it's just one sentence a day. And then you move to the idea of resolving the work and then take action. If you don't take action, this is actually what I want you to do is I got a little prescription here. And so if I dare you, quite frankly, and that's a pretty strong word, I dare you to do something you've never done before. And you might end up getting somewhere that you've never been. And if you resolve to do the hard work, do the weird work, get up and go through the motions, go into the future. Oh, I feel kind of silly. I'm thinking about what I see. I can't see anything. Well, spend some time there. You know, what if I knew I couldn't fail, what kind of person would I become? Think about that. It's in there somewhere. I heard this term one time. It's called dream deficient. And they said Americans suffer, we're dream deficient. We spend so much time just kind of living our life today that we almost forget about tomorrow. Dr. A said, if tomorrow looks like today, imagine that. If last week looks a lot like next week, are you just kind of is it Groundhog's Day? Are you just sort of going through the motions? What's going to change? So another way, someone just posted in the chat, and Dr. A has a whole lesson on this where you create a dream board, you know, where you go into the future and you get out your dream board and you start kind of, you know, seeing what you see, then come back to today and make a board out of it. Instead of writing it down in a journal, maybe you use pictures to characterize what you saw there. Right? And so I'm going to say, here's a prescription, and here's the dare, the double dog dare you. If you're stuck where you are, or maybe you're moving, you're not stuck, but you're not where you want to be, do this. 15 minutes a day for 7 days in a row. I'm doing a week-long dare for you. That even means that you might even do this through the weekend. Oh my goodness, the weekend. So think about that. 15 minutes, go into the future, get up, move yourself over to another part of your house, and then see what you see. What do you see out there? And then take maybe, 10 minutes, just really contemplating that future, and then come back and then write some things down. Maybe after a week of doing this, you'll have enough stuff down that you can actually, on the last day, you can create a dream board. You can actually search for some pictures, right? And the last thing I want you to do is to tell your coach. So if you're part of our Take Shape for Life program, you have a health coach. I even have a health coach. Everybody has a health coach. I love that part of this program. Nobody's ever doing this alone. And so reach out to your health coach and say, hey, Craig dared me to do this thing, right? And so you're going to tell your health coach what you're going to do, and then you're going to talk to them about what's going to happen, and then share with them during the week what you're actually doing, what's happening, and see, try this on for a week. And I don't know about you, but it may take more than a week. But a week's just my first dare to you. Someone just said my dream board is still blank. Yeah, and it's not gonna get filled up with anything without you taking some time to do this. Stephen Covey has this idea of the quadrants, and they have these 4 quadrants. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about the quadrants, but basically, the quadrant 2 is the one I want to speak about. Quadrant 2 is time that you spend during your day that's important, but the things you do there aren't urgent, right? It's not like grocery shopping. It's not like something that has to be done right away. So it's those important things that aren't urgent. And what if you were to get up a little bit early and you took a half an hour, or maybe crazy, maybe an hour of quadrant, I call it Q2 time. You spent Q2 time every day for a week, and you actually just spent some time on that dream board. Just gave yourself a little bit of like freedom just to explore that hour with the future you and doing some of those things. I've been doing this now since Sundance. Sundance is a big retreat, an advanced leadership retreat. And Take Shape for Life takes such good care of us health coaches. You would be blown away at how they grow us as human beings. But we went up to the Sundance Resort in Utah, and they did this amazing training. And one of the things they taught us was this quadrant 2 times. So I came home and I decided to start going to bed a little earlier. So I go to bed about 10 o'clock, and I've been getting up at 5:30. And so from 5:30 to 8:30, I have quadrant 2 time. And I'm journaling, I'm doing some creative writing, I'm doing some reading, some studying. Have my quiet time in the Word. It's just been unbelievable. And the changes that I see, it's like I get done at the end of the day and I'm just like, I have this new flavor in my mouth, and it's called satisfaction, because I just feel like I took care of me. I did those things. So if you have that dream board you've talked about, here's a double dog dare. I dare you to get it out and get after it. I think that good things will happen. So 15 minutes a day, 7 days, just like exercising though. If you go out and work out for 15 minutes a day for 7 days, you might not be that much stronger at the end of the week. But if you keep doing it, I bet you're going to get stronger. So I hope this settles in. It's a little bit of an abstract concept, and it's definitely a creative thing. But I think as we become traffickers of the future, I really, really believe that we're going to be able to step into those dreams and make those dreams actual reality, and keep them from sliding off into the fantasy land as we get stuck in the Groundhog Day living. So there it is, guys. Lisa Weber, I accept your dare. You get after it, Lisa. Oh man, that's great. So the what I want to do is actually I'm going to stop the share here, and I've got it's my pleasure actually to bring on Integrated Presidential Director Dan Valentine, and he's going to be hosting our trilogy webinar tonight. He's got some guests on here as well. So hey Dan, good to see you.
Yeah, you too, Craig. Good stuff, man.
Hey, thanks
That's
a lot.
Powerful.
Yep. Have a great night.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for hosting, and everybody who was on. Congratulations on owning your health and taking those extra steps to really shore it up and make sure that you're successful. Because as we all know, it's our choices that determine our life, our health, all those things.
The preceding audio may have contained the personal testimonials of some Take Shape for Life health coaches or clients. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified, and your individual path to healthy living and weight loss will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a physician before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the Take Shape for Life team.